What the hell is going on? Worry here. Why worry? I'll do it for you. The creamy, steamy, dreamy voice of YouTube telling you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Pete Hines is doing an extended E3 interview happening right now. We're going to break it down and listen to his words. First up, he talks about the idea of exclusivity on the Xbox and what it means to streamline your development for one platform, what it means for the exclusivity, and what it means for the quality of a game. So let's listen to his words here.
What we are doing. It is going to be exclusive on PC and within the Xbox ecosystem. And I think it's important to phrase it like that only because, recently within the last week, Phil has talked about how they're looking to expand that, right? And other ways they're looking to bring Xbox gaming to folks who don't own a Series S or X or even a PC, but want to play the kinds of games that, we're bringing to Game Pass and we're bringing to Xbox. So wherever and however that Xbox ecosystem expands, obviously we're excited about that. The flip side, the other thing you asked about is like, what is the impact on development? Well, I'm here to tell you, and any dev will tell you this, you go to fewer platforms, your development gets more streamlined.
Next up, he was asked about the idea of PlayStation gamers no longer being able to play these games that they may have played in the past and how they can deal with that. So he talked about that, and he talked about the idea, the things that he's focused on and what he can and can't control. Let's listen to what he said.
If you're a big fan of stuff we make in a game that we're making is no longer available on your platform, I totally understand if you are unhappy or pissed or whatever. Like, I get it. Those are all real feelings and frustrations. How should you deal with that? I haven't the foggiest idea. I would never presume to say, oh, here's how you can make it better and feel better. At the same time, there's only so much time I can spend on being focused on what we're not doing, right? I'm trying to focus on, yes, we're not. But the actual problem is we are making it for these other platforms. And how is that going? And where are we? And when are we ready to talk about, to your previous question, these different elements of the game? And what does that plan look like? And do we need to evolve the plan or change the plan based on the timing of things coming into the game or when they're ready to show? So I tend to focus a little bit more on the, that I can solve. That I can have a conversation around, how are we going to talk about this feature? How are we going to explain how this part of the game works? Because of those are things like I don't know how to allay the fears and concerns of PlayStation 5 fans other than to say, well, I'm a PlayStation 5 player as well, and I've played games on that console, and there's games I'm going to continue to play on it. But if you want to play Starfield, PC and Xbox, sorry. All I can really say is I apologize. Because I'm certain that that's frustrating to folks, but there's not a whole lot I can do about it.
Next up, he was asked about the turning point internally for Bethesda when talking about Game Pass and what that turning point was for them and how big it was. Let's listen to what he said.
Well, you can trace it all back to one decision, which predates us joining Xbox. I haven't even gotten around to asking anybody like, hey, how did this happen or come about? But all of the folks who decided, hey, we're going to start putting our studio titles in Game Pass day one, when they're also available for sale, that changed everything. It's remarkable how different Game Pass is now when you understand that, you don't have to wait, because the old way of doing it would have been like, well, a year from now, maybe that game gets added, or 2 years from now. Even our own participation was always well post-launch. They would say, hey, what do you think about putting, a Fallout this or a Doom that into Game Pass or ESO? But it was always well after that content came out, and shifting to Game Pass day one and how many people are going to play your titles. The number of folks we've seen going into games like Prey or Dishonored or Doom 64 or whatever it is remarkable. And getting to now talk to that Game Pass team and really all of Xbox as a first party, which is still weird to say.
Next up, he's asked about Game Pass and if it cannibalizes sales day and date. He answers this question. I think it's very, very interesting. He says, yes, some cannibalization of games does exist when you release day and date, but the engagement that they're seeing more than makes up for it. Let's listen to what he said.
Well, I assume if it's in Game Pass, nobody's going to buy it. And they go, no, hold on. Let us show you what we've seen from these. That's what really proved it, is they had this idea and then they proved, hey, we can launch something day one in Game Pass. And of course, there's some cannibalization. It's ridiculous to suggest otherwise, right? I haven't bought a first-party Xbox title in a couple of years because when Gears came out, I just played it through Game Pass. And when Halo comes out, I'm just playing it through Game Pass. But when you look at the larger picture of the sheer volume of people playing your game and how they engage with your content and how Game Pass is doing, like, it's honestly, Bethesda's mantra in all of the almost 22 years I've been here is pretty simple. We want to make great games and we want as many people to play it as possible. Now, okay, put aside the exclusive thing for a half a second because we already talked about that. But the number of people Game Pass now brings to a title and what your day one launches look like in terms of just how many people are playing your game, it's multiple factors, above where we would have been before. And the idea of that many people playing your game on the day that it comes out is ultimately what we're all about.
So a ton of information there. Pete Hines talking about Game Pass, Xbox exclusivity, the ecosystem. Thanks for watching. Think about liking and subscribing, sharing this out on your favorite social media platform of choice, and I'll see you in the next video.